Thanks, Chair, and also thanks for this opportunity provided by CCG every year, especially still now, as we know. I take a big value of this opportunity to share some points with all of the participants from all sectors. So because I'm from a think tank, so maybe a little bit different of the starting point to jump into this discussion about how could we look at the future of globalization, and especially how could we moving forward for China and Europe. But I have to remind all of us that now maybe the pressing issue for us is not moving forward, is to stop any kind of tendency of moving backward. So how to stabilize this cooperation between China and Europe, especially in the very, very, negative background. Also, in China, we've always said that the misfortunes always come together. I still remember last year we discussed some issue here about how about the negative impact from COVID-19, and this year we have to face a situation that not only COVID-19 and also now more and more geopolitical impact on so-called globalization and also China-Europe cooperation. So I think now we need to try to find out more certainties, especially from the policy environment, and how about this influence from other issues, namely geopolitical and also uncertainties of policies, just like my neighbor, Mr. Wood mentioned. I think now we have to, realize some, so far, some not so favorable issues or problems for us. So I have to start share my points from a little bit pessimistic point. Also, now the very, very big issue for us is, besides the COVID-19 and now the Ukrainian crisis, it is strengthening a kind of, tendency of deglobalization. Because for those people who anti-globalization, it looks like they have some more reasons to do something to push forward this kind of deglobalization, because of the, as we know, fragmented of regional cooperation, and also even maybe more and more uncertainties for politics and some other. Another very big issue is in the background of the, so many negative impacts. We have to face a big problem is how about the competition between some issues. Even before the COVID-19 and also before the Ukrainian crisis, for example, for China and Europe, we are trying to find some more opportunity by working together in some issue like the green economy and the digital economy. But how about now? Regarding to the green economy, green transition, recently we witnessed the failure of the climate change talk in Hamburg, Germany, which give a very, very negative signal that once we try to continue this green economy, green transition direction, we have to insist the political discourse of climate change. We need to keep the climate security from any kind of challenges. But now, as we know, for Europe, for most of the countries and also for European Union institutions, they have to try to keep a balance between, especially in financial sector, to keep the balance between how to support Ukraine, how to impose the sanction against Russia. And on this regard, undoubtedly, this green transition, green economy have to go back or, lower on this agenda. Another very big opportunity for China and Europe, as we know, the digital economy cooperation. Unfortunately, just like Mr. Woodick mentioned that some European companies, now they are facing some maybe uncertainties from Chinese policy to deal with COVID-19. I think for Chinese companies or investors, they are facing another kind of challenge from Europe is they have to realize more uncertainties or more unpredictable factors in Europe in a certain way. Why? Because recently we find that more and more a lot of regulations or rules from European Union on digital economy. So how could Chinese companies investors they understand what's a real trend for European side to have a more open market for the new commerce or new technology, or just have more and more, benchmark or more preconditions for Chinese, of course, not only Chinese companies. I think especially for digital economy, as we know, the biggest suffering will be for American companies. But for some more Chinese companies, especially for digital economy, they have to have some more worry or suspicion about the openness of European market. Another, I think, big issue is how could we understand the very, very big influence or impact of this kind of transfer of focus from a geo-economic cooperation to geopolitical confrontation. Now people have to rethink about what does it mean for interdependency economically. As you know now, it is a very hot issue for countries is weaponization of trade, weaponization of technology, weaponization of the investment. So how could China and Europe, we can give some answers to all of these questions is once there will be a choice for China and Europe, we will go to choice the side of we will also go back to a geopolitical confrontation by giving up the geo-economic common interests. So we have to answer this all of these questions. Another, I think, very, very big issue is how about this, China, EU or China, Europe? Of course, we need to, realize some changing reality. And then we have to, upgrade our mindset. We have to find out maybe a kind of a reconnection. We understand, as I understand that maybe the change of the priorities for both two sides. So we need to find out some new solutions for firstly, more mutual trust, and also maybe a reshape of the construct of the common interests. So now the question is how? So I think that, yes, for China and Europe, if we look at the ongoing Ukrainian conflict or Ukrainian crisis, we can make a conclusion that comparing with other players, major players or powers in the world, and China and Europe were the most constructive power, even no any destructive. Okay, we still insist multilateral cooperation. We still try to put geo-economic cooperation on the top position of the agenda. So on this regard, how could we do something? So I think, yes, we need to rethink about what's a real meaning for China and Europe of the interdependence and connectivity. As we know now, in some European countries, or even for some think tanks there, they are working on an issue that maybe for Europe, once there's some more autonomy, which means that the Europe have to give up or say goodbye to any kind of interdependency with other economies, just like they are going to do with the energy relations with Russia. So how about maybe in the future? Another question for Europe is it has to give up the very deep and also beneficial independence with China. So I don't think that it's a natural logic to translate what happened in Russia and Ukraine into Asia Pacific and China. So I think that also, if we go deep, the kind of a cultural difference, I don't think that China has the same mindset to look at the maybe today China have to deal with a very complicated situation in Ukraine, and tomorrow China have to deal with the same situations in Europe. I don't think China has this kind of, as we know, not so flexible. So how could we find out a combined or common interests in future, especially in the current very difficult situation? And of course, I agree with some colleagues mentioned that we need some new dynamics, or even we need some new concept. No matter RCEP, CPTPP, once they still no way out for the CAI, a comprehensive investment agreement. So how could we do something in a more pragmatic way? And also, of course, hopefully, I think especially from a business cycle in Europe, represented by Mr. Wood here, to have some more influence on European Parliament, to help them, to help the MEPS to understand the real benefits for China and Europe cooperation, not only just in the frame of the investment and how about the future. So short term, mid-term, long term, how could we keep a balance between all of these, as we know, conflicting interests, and also at the same time, still, I try to have a more optimistic conclusion is, even now we are facing a lot of the challenges, uncertainties, but once we try to stabilize our current, benefits model, and even we try to provide some more creative solutions, and not only for this, go back to a peace of Europe, and also more stable Asia and Pacific region in future, even by working together with Europe, between China and Europe. I think everything is possible. It depends on how could we insist our confidence. Now, I stop here. Thank you.